Hello and welcome to 7 Days in Europe. Today's youth are paying a heavy price for our economic problems. Over 23% are out of work and graduate numbers are falling. Investing in youth is a big priority for European leaders, or so they tell us. And it's one of the themes of this year's European Youth Week. The brainchild of the European Youth Forum, it also looks to mobilise young people in next year's European elections. And here to talk to us about that and youth mobilisation is Giuseppe Porcaro, the Secretary-General of the European Youth Forum. Mr. Porcaro, thank you so much for joining us here in 7 days.
Thanks.
Now, before we start our discussion, we're going to play a little game where I'll ask you a series of questions and all you have to do is answer yes or no. Are you ready?
All right.
OK, then let's go. Have you always been active in youth issues?
Yes.
Have you ever been unemployed?
No.
If you were to be unemployed, would you leave Europe?
Yes.
Do you think Europe is then a good place for young people to work?
No.
Have you always voted?
Yes.
Do you think lots of young people will actually vote in this parliamentary election?
No.
Do you think young people care about Europe?
Ni.
The kids you talk to, do they actually want to take an active role in politics?
Yes.
Are European leaders doing enough to address the problems of today's youth?
No.
Now, MEPs fought to save the budget of key youth programmes like Erasmus, but is this a programme that can really help kids from all backgrounds, all diversities?
Yes and no.
So would you say that Erasmus is just for privileged kids?
No.
Are young people today angry?
Yes.
OK, well, unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you so much for taking part in that. Now, coming to this Youth Fest that you were part of, you were organising, what was your main goal?
Yeah, well, our main goal was to celebrate the participation of young people to building a democratic Europe and building a different democracy in Europe, maybe, in order to engage them and make them feel that they can be part of it and that they can make a choice that can be relevant for changing the policies that concerns them and things like that. So that was the main purpose of the EuroFest this year. It's the 4th time that we do the EuroFest.
And were these kids from all backgrounds, or was it just maybe a selection of prized kids, you could say?
No, actually, we made available also the possibility for anyone to come here, also because we also supported a lot of them through for their travels and for their accommodation. So it was not an elitist festival.
And you said in the rapid fire question round that young people really aren't interested in Europe at all. They're not participating. So talk to me a bit more about this voting campaign that you launched.
Yeah, indeed. We analysed what happened at the European elections campaign in 2009 and what kind of mobilisation campaigns were made back then by both at national level and at the European level. And what we found out is that actually young people wants to be involved in the discussions, but actually the campaigns were either focused merely on national topics or either focused on topics that don't concern young people. Our main goal is not to tell to the young people go to vote. Our main goal is to engage young people in the electoral discussions, engage young people to understand that there is a difference between the socialist program, the liberal program, the EPP program, the green program and the others when it comes to European affairs and when it comes to things that actually are not so distant from them, because this is what we want to bring the politicians to discuss, things that young people can touch in their daily life. And I think then after this kind of discussion, engaging them in that, maybe they will get more motivation to go to vote.
So it's information for motivation, is it?
Exactly, but also engaging them in a discussion beforehand in order to identify which issues concerns them. And then we are going to gather the issues and transmit them to the political parties in order for them to address those issues.
OK, Giuseppe, well, we're going to take a quick break. And first of all, we're going to look at this news report of a roundup of this week's news with Julie Martin.
Libye, Union européenne vers une relation plus forte. 2 ans après la fin du régime de Kadhafi, la Libye reste fragile, les tensions extrêmes et les milices omniprésentes. Ali Zidane, le Premier ministre libyen, était lundi à Bruxelles pour demander le soutien aux responsables européens. Puis il a rappelé son attachement à une transition pacifique et démocratique pour son pays, et cela dans un contexte de bon voisinage avec les pays limitrophes. Focus sur les pays au sud-est de l'Union européenne avec la 3e réunion annuelle d'Euronest. Lundi à mercredi, ces députés européens se sont réunis avec des députés nationaux d'Arménie, d'Azerbaïdjan, de Géorgie, de Moldavie et d'Ukraine. 5 pays qui n'ont pas vocation à intégrer l'Union européenne. Au programme des discussions, sécurité énergétique, droits de l'homme, démocratie, culture, ce partenariat vise l'association politique et l'intégration économique entre l'Union européenne et les États de ce partenariat oriental. Les litiges commerciaux entre la Chine et l'Union européenne se multiplient. Le dernier en date concerne une forte taxe qui pourrait être imposée provisoirement sur les panneaux solaires importés de Chine. Les firmes européennes du secteur menacées de disparition dénoncent une concurrence déloyale de la part des Chinois. Que va faire l'Union européenne? Mardi, le commissaire européen au commerce Karel de Gucht était au Parlement européen. Il est venu présenter son programme de travail pour 2013 et 2014.
You're watching 7 Days in Europe, and joining me in the studios is Giuseppe Porcaro from the European Youth Forum. Now, Mr. Porcaro, you said earlier that you would leave Europe if you didn't have a job. Now, in a recent newspaper report, it said that young people have 3 ideas. They would either leave Europe, they would become a politician, or engage in revolution. So which one do you think is the best idea for young people?
Well, at the moment, engage in a revolution, I would say.
Why is that?
Well, I think that it is time for this generation to take a leading role in the growth and the development of the continent. And especially in some countries, I come from Italy, for example, there is a generational gap that is not just in politics. So when I speak about the revolution, I don't think about throwing stones in the street. I mean, I speak about having a revolution where young people can take a leading positions in business, in research, so at the university, for example, in politics as well as in culture and many other things. And I think that this is the best thing that could happen to Europe.
But, I mean, you know, obviously in the EU, we do have programmes like the Social Fund, and now we're going to have a youth guarantee scheme. But, you know, Van Rompuy has said that it's good to have budgets for youth programmes, but he's also said that young people shouldn't expect too much, especially in times of austerity. What do you make of that?
Well, we are quite happy that finally we have been speaking about at the European Youth Forum the crisis and the risk to lose a generation since 2007. So we are happy that finally the European Council at the highest level is addressing the issue of youth employment, and especially that measures like the youth guarantee that the European Youth Forum has been advocating also since a few years have been taken on board. However,
but do you really think they're doing enough?
Exactly. However, and this is the main point, the investment that is being made on that for us is not enough. I mean, 6 billion euro for a period of for the whole period of the next multi-annual financial framework sounds a little bit like peanuts when the International Labour Organization estimated for the Eurozone 21 billion euro as the prospective cost to make a youth guarantee scheme work properly. And if you think that within the 6 billion, only 3 billion are fresh money, but the other 3 billion are money that were already in the European Social Fund, then we got a little bit the idea that this is not going to probably work out.
Okay, Giuseppe, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us on the programme.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Hello and welcome. Do you remember the day before Facebook and Twitter and all the millions of apps we use every day? Well, not many people could imagine a life without them now. today. It's so easy for all of us to let everyone know what we're doing, but as we get more media savvy, are we still protecting our online privacy? Did you know that the current laws are some 20 years old? One man looking to change that is the Green Party MEP Jan Philipp Albrecht. Mr. Albrecht, pleasure to have you on the show. Now, before we start our discussion, we're going to have a little game where I will ask you a series of questions and all you have to do is answer yes or no. Are you ready?
Yes.
OK, then, let's go. Are you old enough to remember floppy disks?
Yes.
Now, you've authored this report on data protection, so are you media savvy?
Yes.
Do you like Facebook?
Yes.
Do you like Twitter?
Yes.
Do you prefer Twitter?
Yes.
Are you maybe fed up of both of them?
No.
Is being online a huge risk?
Yes.
Have you ever posted anything online that you're maybe a bit ashamed of?
Yes.
Should parts of the internet be policed?
Yes.
Do you think it's right for governments to close down maybe hate websites?
Yes.
Should people be fined or sent to prison for things they post online?
Yes.
Now, we all want the latest apps, but is it fair for companies to store our information?
Yes.
Is information companies store a real threat?
Yes.
OK, well, we've run out of time for that part. Now, coming to this data protection law, why has it taken so long for the law to be updated? Shouldn't legislators have weighed in a long time ago?
I think it has taken some time because it's a good law. The directive, the EU directive from 1995, is the basis for all our privacy laws in Europe. And from content, it's good. But until now, we have seen that the different implementations and applications of this law in the member states lead to a problem with regard to the internet environment, because our personal data is cross-border by nature now, and we need to find common interpretations. And of course, also we need to have some new answers on the internet mass media challenges. Our rules are not the worst. It's really a good balance which we already have. It just needs to be enforced equally on all areas. And there, of course, we need new rules, and we need it soon.
OK, well, we'll come back to our chat, but right now, let's take a look at this report on data protection by Julie Martin.
Nom, prénom, adresse, numéro de téléphone, centre d'intérêt, la toile en sait beaucoup sur chaque internaute. Toutes ces données sont interceptées, où que l'on soit. Nous retrouvons Damien sur une aire de parking au milieu de nulle part. Son PC est connecté à une borne Wi-Fi et à un logiciel très révélateur.
Je vais surfer, tout simplement. Sauf que mon logiciel, au même moment, est en train de me montrer toutes les petites boules. Ce sont toutes les collusions publicitaires qui interceptent mes données. Là, on voit que mon grand média français partage les informations avec Google, avec des régies publicitaires, qui elles-mêmes partagent ça avec d'autres sites. Et donc, tous ces gens-là se partagent mes données.
Objectif, vendre à Damien des publicités ciblées. Et ça marche, même pour ce journaliste expert en sécurité informatique. Ses livres, sa clé USB à reconnaissance digitale le trahissent, il se méfie d'Internet. Et pourtant, son Facebook le trahit lui aussi. À voir les publicités affichées à son intention, Damien aime le rugby, c'est un homme, il aime donc les voitures et il pratique les arts martiaux.
Très vite, Facebook a compris qui j'étais. Et il se dit, tiens, dans les publicités que je lui propose, obligatoirement, il y en a une qui va l'intéresser, donc il va cliquer dessus, donc il va me générer de l'argent par son clic. Et toutes ces données peuvent être utilisables soit par le web marketing, mais il y a aussi les pirates, ceux qui vont vouloir voler ces informations. Pourquoi ? Tout simplement pour usurper mon identité. La finalité, dans tous les cas, pour cette population, c'est de tirer de l'argent de mes données privées.
Toutes ces utilisations frauduleuses de données personnelles mal protégées ont interpellé le Parlement européen. Il faut dire que la dernière réglementation européenne traitant de la protection de ces données date de 1995, bien avant l'essor d'Internet. Parmi les mesures proposées, les citoyens pourront demander la suppression de leurs données sur le net. Des sanctions fortes pourraient punir les entreprises en faute. Elles pourraient payer une amende correspondant à 2% de leur chiffre d'affaires annuel. De quoi peut-être refroidir certains géants du web comme Google et Facebook.
You're watching 7 Days in Europe, and with me is Green MEP Jan Philipp Albrecht, the author of the report on data protection. Now, Mr. Albrecht, what information is okay to share in your opinion, and what constitutes a violation?
Generally, almost all personal information can be shared. First of all, you have to distinguish personal data from all the other information. I think it's clear that...
So if you give us an example.
How a tree looks, that's an information that's not publishing anything personal on me. But personal information is okay to be shared, generally, but with rights of the data subject, the individual who is concerned, so that I have the right to say, yes, I would like to share it, or no, I would not like to share it. So that is the consent to data processing, and also the right to correct it.
Isn't it actually quite hard to enforce? I mean, say, for example, if I want to buy a train ticket, I have to put my name, my address, other details.
But I can decide to not buy the train ticket. So it should be my decision to say, okay, I'm okay to buy a train ticket with personal data, or I'm not okay, I'm taking another service which
but that's
don't
kind of impossible.
rely
I mean,
on
nowadays we don't just, pick up the phone and we ring up the train company and, give our information and buy tickets that way. I mean, in a modern day when we're all running around doing all kinds of things and we have, laptops, phones, so many ways to access the internet, isn't it just so much easier then to, be able to buy things essentially online? So how do we stop that information being there?
Everybody who wants to do that can do it, but we just want to have the informed consumer who is informed about which personal data is processed, and that he has the right to say, no, I don't want to process my personal data for which reason ever. And if it's a necessary information for the service, then of course I have to look out for another service not requiring those information.
Now, what about this right to be forgotten? It sounds very nice. I mean, obviously, say, for example, lots of people, I think we all know, they open a Facebook account, then they want to delete themselves, but they never go away. So, I mean, this right to be forgotten can be applied in so many different ways on the internet. But in essence, we're not actually being forgotten. Say, for example, I post something online, somebody then shares it, and then maybe it could be shared in other ways, in other websites. That information is still there, whether or not I am forgotten or not. So how will this legislation actually work? Is it actually going to protect me?
This legislation, as the former legislation, gives the right to deletion. So I can ask for the erasure of my personal data. If this personal data is already published, then of course it's very difficult, like you say, to really get the erasure done. The right to be forgotten should help me to get the information that I would like to erase these data communicated to all further data controllers. And my service, for example, in this case, Facebook, should communicate that I not want to have my data longer processed.
Now, of course, it's taken a very long time for this legislation to, come into force or about to come into force. What sort of pressure have you been under? I mean, have companies like Google and Facebook, they have been lobbying very hard. And what about from other parties? I mean, have you felt any pressure to maybe water down your proposals?
I mean, generally, there's a huge amount of lobbying and a huge amount of interest around this regulation because it touches on all of our lives. Everywhere information about us is involved. In future, it will be even more. Of course, there are companies who are only seeing, oh, we have some ideas how to make the things better. But there are also some companies who would like to change the rules to benefit from less protection for consumers.
So will you let them win?
And those are putting very much effort in it. And I think that we have to take into account as politicians that there are also citizens and consumers out there who perhaps have different interests and who should also be respected the same as those internet interest groups.
So just quickly, yes or no? Are you going to let the companies win, or are you going to make sure that you really secure the rights of
No, we will not let one side win. We will find a fair balance between the interests, and that means that we mainly follow the ideas of rules we already have today, but we will better enforce them and make them easier understandable.
Okay, Mr. Albrecht, unfortunately we've run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us on the programme.
Thank you.
Okay, you've been watching 7 Days in Europe with me, Mariam Zaidi. Goodbye and take care.